Original Firefighter is the podcast and apparel brand that celebrates the heritage and traditions of the American Fire Service. Join us each week for lively discussions that aim to inspire, educate, and entertain, all in the effort to support mental health and well-being for first responders. Please subscribe, hit that bell, and follow us wherever you listen. Let's get into the show. Well, hi, folks. This is Original Firefighter, and we're coming to you on a special, quick little short that we want to acknowledge what's going on the West Coast, out in California, and particularly in the LA area. As we come to you, we're just going to have a conversation with the owners of Original Firefighter, and of course, we're very passionate about what is happening. This is, it's taken the national attention, just like the hurricanes that affected 2024, the way that we started out the New Year's with what occurred in New Orleans. And then we, just a few days later on January 7th, we all turn on our televisions and we're getting our information from the news in social media and whatnot, and it's just flooded and inundated with what's happening out in the LA area. And we're just going to have a quick conversation about, what we think is happening, what we know is happening, because we're seeing it in real time. This does not look like it's going to go away anytime soon, whether or not the fires themselves are contained, which, as we know right now, they're still struggling with that, right? The containment of it. And we'll get into a little bit of that. I know we were looking up some of the information about the fires that are going on right now, still today. But, we know this fire started on the 7th of January, and it's been devastating to a massive level. Currently, and our numbers are fluctuating all the time, just like anybody out there in the media world. They have over 8,000 firefighters assigned to it. They have fire departments that are coming as far as San Francisco, Sacramento, and then as of today, actually, some Canada assets, firefighting and fixed-wing aircraft has gotten into the area, and they're flying to drop water and agent to put the fire out, put several of the fires out that they can. But every time we look at the media. When we look up, CBS News or ABC or whatever, I mean, it's interesting that we get real-time updates, and it's slow in the containment. We're at some of these fires are not even contained to like
8%, 8% on the Palisades, I think.
Yeah. What fires are going on right now?
Palisades fire, the Hearst fire, the Eaton fire, and let's see,
Sunset. Lydia.
Yeah, Lydia was smaller one, it's a few hundred acres, but
right.
Yeah, I mean Palisades, Kenneth Fire, that's the other one. It's happening near
sounds
there.
Like Palisades is at over 20,000 square acres.
Yeah,
8% contained, which I was just reading is like 8 times the size of the Chicago fire.
Right. Yeah. That
for
one,
perspective, yeah,
that one took me back up for a minute when you brought that up, Rob. That right now this is 8 times larger than the Great Chicago Fire, which occurred.
That's just the Palisades.
Yeah, just the Palisades.
So that's not
fire.
including everything else.
Yeah, the Great Chicago Fire happening on October 8th through the 10th. So it was obviously multiple days, which this is already doing that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like it's going to come to an end very, very, very soon. We would hope that it does. We hope that they get ahead of it as quick as they can, and they're trying their damnedest.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. We know also that LA City Fire Department, they've got over 3,000 of their firefighters working, and also LA County has got over 1,000 of their firefighters. So again, I mean, it's just an incredible, massive human effort. That's the human output is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, an influx of personnel plus, I heard engines coming from other states now, and everybody trying to rally around containment and preventing any more loss of life. We've already lost 10 people so far, and our hearts go out to those families and everybody too that's dealing with the aftermath of loss of property. Pets too. I mean, people don't talk about that very much, but that's, just as much a part of anybody's
wildlife.
family.
I mean, just all the trees, the animals. It's unbelievable. And it's when something like this happens, so many thoughts go through your head.
Yeah.
And you're shifting from like appreciation for firefighters. It's kind of like during a war, you appreciate what service men and women do for the country. This is a war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where you go, these are our heroes, and they're stepping up and doing what needs to be done. I can't even imagine, and maybe you can explain maybe from a firefighter's perspective, what's happening, what's going through their minds, how are they organizing? That's like, this isn't a battle. This is like World War II of firefighting.
Yeah.
So how do you even approach this with limited resources? I hear, our fire hydrants aren't made to put these kind of fires out.
Right.
So what do you do when you're going into a battle with a pistol or a knife or a slingshot,
Literally.
Or a traffic cone.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we did. Yeah. There was an image where a firefighter was out there using a traffic cone as a kind of a bucket. I mean, and scooping up whatever available water he could find and just, throwing it on, whatever fire or flame he could
Residents
put it on.
The rolling garbage can full of water from their neighbor's pool trying to help.
It's like, hey,
when I saw
we're going to send you in a battle, but your guns have no bullets.
When I saw that, the actual, in firefighter that was using the traffic cone.
Yeah.
I immediately went back to, that's the epitome of going back to basics. That was literally the bucket brigade.
Yeah, the bucket. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so if you're a firefighter out there, I mean, just think about that. I mean, we've gone through history and time where the evolution of firefighting has, started we're going all the way back to the Crusades. I mean, you can go back to Roman times and then you look at, the birth of the American Fire Service and it pretty much moving from the colonies east to west coast, and now here we are on the furthest, and please let me make sure that I acknowledge Hawaii.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the devastation that they have suffered.
Yeah.
So that does not go unthought of.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I would imagine that people, all of us as Americans, we should be thinking about this happened in Hawaii, and now it's happening in inland, obviously, or on the mainland, if you will. It's kind of more of a better way to say it. But we're all together here, right. And if it feels like we're just sort of sitting back and watching this, that's true. But we're trying, especially firefighters and first responders. We're imagining, like, if I had to be put on the front line in that situation, I would want to do everything I could. I would want to give every ounce of energy that I could possibly give in that moment. And your question about how does this play out? It starts with obviously the preparedness of it, and I think that's getting already some real criticism out there. It's not the firefighters,
right?
It is. Let me be clear, and let us be clear. It is not the first responders and the firefighters and the police officers. It is going to come back to the state level. Mm-hmm. It may. There could be some federal level that gets hit on the chin for this. We do have U.S. Forestry Department. We have money at the federal level that goes to our national parks, and then not to mention that you've got every state has their governor, every town has their mayor, and you look at some of the moments that Gavin Newsom's had in front of the microphone, and it's not played out very well for him.
Right.
And then you look at the mayor of for Los Angeles, and it's not playing out very well for her either.
Yeah.
Just be honest about it.
Hindsight's 2020, but it looks like everything was pointing to this happening.
Well, it comes back, and I want to be on point about this. It again, time and again, it comes back to, what does real leadership look like? What does it look like? And if we put our faith into local officials, state leaders, elected officials, leaders of industry, leaders of organizations, and leaders of our fire departments, and those who have to create budgets,
right?
Those who have to account for the staffing levels and answer for those things when the worst of the worst happens. You better believe that you're going to be held to task here.
Yeah, and there's going to be lots of time to assign blame as things shake out in the days ahead. I mean, obviously, right now we're really focused on the firefighters and those on the front line, and we're with you, we're behind you, and there will be time to shake out what mistakes were made, at the state level in the past. But I do think we can all agree, like, nobody wants our fire department fighting fires with one hand tied behind their back.
Right.
Right. And when you're talking about personnel cuts, and when you're talking about budget, like, this is where those things play out.
Yeah.
And under a microscope too, like, we're really seeing at scale the implications of those decisions and how they're playing out. So yeah, it's a mess. I can't imagine too, some of these guys are used to fighting fires in a residential environment, but we've got, like, the terrain out there is so vast. You're talking about brush fires, forest fires, and residential fires, and commercial fires, and like, it's all happening in the same space at the same time on a massive scale. And I can't imagine, the coordination that has to take place to make all that work together when you're seeing, like, these incremental increases in containment from like 3% to 6%, to 8%. It's like, it's just got to feel like you're not making the ground that you want to make. That's such a massive area of battle.
That's that human energy output that it would be fascinating if you could, measure it. And we can only imagine, I imagine the exertion and the exhaustion that those firefighters and police officers are dealing with.
Right.
And to your question, Rob, as far as, how do you manage this, or how does this play out? It does come back to unified command. The unified command, something very much born out of 9/11, where it's this orchestration of all agencies that have emergency agencies specifically. And there's other agencies too. I mean, the health department's involved, and air quality out there is, just completely terrible. And so there's all the entities of our governments that are playing a part. But clearly on the front lines, once again, are the firefighters, the police officers, the paramedics, the pilots of those fixed wing and rotary aircraft that are delivering water and fire retardant as best as they can, even given the winds. And again, it's the front line, the first responders on the front line playing out in real time. And I'll tell you, go back something that you had mentioned about the cuts, is that it proves over and over and again that cuts to the fire department and emergency services as a whole is continuously proving not to be a good idea.
It's not working.
It is not a good freaking idea.
What I'm trying to wrap my head around is, obviously the best way is to prevent it. And investing in prevention is important. So when you're being strategic, you have things that are low probability, but if they happen, it's going to be devastating. And you might not pay much attention to that because the probability is so low. And then you have things that are high probability, but it's not going to make it, it's not a huge deal. This was both high probability and would be devastating, which it is. It is. You heard this being predicted many places before this.
Yeah.
Before this time. You would think it wouldn't be budget cuts to the fire department. It would be, hey, we can see this coming. High probability devastation.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we put the systems in place to prevent this, or at least contain it? And I know there are things they talked about, like clearing old brush.
Right.
There are a lot of, I was looking it up, there are a lot of ways you can help prevent this, or prevent the spread of it.
Right.
And there are places in the world that this is also a high probability and would be devastating, and they do those things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the fires are at least contained, or they don't happen.
Right.
So, I don't want to be an armchair warrior. I don't know all the things. You hear about water coming from up north in California. Is that a possibility? I don't know.
Being rerouted, or all of that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Where they were rerouting the water.
The Delta smelt.
Yeah. So,
and I get it. I mean,
it sounds like a lot of this stuff is policies in place for, wildlife and just environmentalists. Mm-hmm. The question is, how devastating was this to the environment?
Yeah.
You got pollution. You have all this, all these, kinds of things that are going to be the effects long term, not only to the environment but to the economy. A lot of those people might leave the state. That's the tax base.
Yep.
There are so many trickle down problems in this that you would think, from a leadership perspective, it would be human nature is reaction. I think a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Like, you're rolling the dice, let's hope that doesn't happen. But when it's this devastating, obviously when they rebuild, they're going to go, tragedy is the mother of invention, right?
Right.
So the systems will be in place, I think.
I agree with you. They're
going to figure out how to, this is $58 billion, they say, in damage.
Right.
Well, how much money would it have cost to prevent this in the first place? Probably a fraction of that.
We're always kind of cutting to the chase by saying we'll follow the money. I mean, it's like it's a part of our American dialect is, we'll follow the money, right? And there's some bad actors out there where, they're looking at this going, hey, this was a devastating situation, but we're going to profit in some other way. And that pisses me off,
right?
As it should just about everybody else. I can't. The insurance fallout, and all of that just kind of wrapped up into the painstaking process. This is the part that I couldn't even wrap my head around. Is the first steps to recovery, and getting somehow back into those areas, and then asking the question like, are we even supposed to be building here?
That's a great question because,
okay, go ahead.
Having lived in California,
yes.
Yes, this is horrible what's happening and where it's happening. It's such a high concentration of people, and it's going to be devastating, and it's going to have very long lasting impacts on that community. But I've seen entire houses slide off the side of cliffs. And then, a couple months later, they're pouring a foundation to rebuild a house on that cliff.
Right.
So, this isn't anything new to California. I feel like, there's a little bit of, I want to live here. I want to live right here. I'm going to build here. And,
and if you have the money to do it.
Yeah. It's like a willful ignorance. Again, that's not what's happening right now. This, the space that this is occupied is a space that's been inhabited for a very long time. Without these issues.
And it's not just the rich getting affected here, just to be clear.
Yeah.
It's truly decimating.
Yes, things go in cycles, and we've been in a dry cycle for a very long time out there. And, when you're talking about, kind of seeing this stuff coming, when you're seeing major insurers pulling out of a state, something's coming. Like they're predicting a loss that they can't cover.
Right.
So they're hightailing it out. Right. So I think when you're talking about
that's what I mean by follow the money.
Well, but I will say too, I think where money is being spent comes down to the values of those that are spending it. Right.
Yep.
So are they going to continue to prioritize some altruistic political worldview and put all their money into that? Or are they going to look at the state and where it's at and its resources and it's just the landscape and the climate and what needs to be done and actually start dealing with reality.
Yeah.
I feel like, having been out there many, many times, being born in California, growing up there, there is this like, it's like a bubble that a lot of Californians live in where they've got this idealistic state and they feel like somehow that's going to be achieved within the borders of the state of California. And it's not working.
Yeah.
It's just not working.
If we drive enough electric cars, this is not going to happen.
Right. Meanwhile, the power grid goes down or one of them catches fire and now we've got, acres burning on a hill. So
there's a lot there. I mean, we know that, we can go down a lot of different paths and roads. And quite frankly, what's going to come out of this will probably be endless trails that we can go down.
Right.
And certainly there's going to be, accountability. And I just want to avoid jumping on certain bandwagons right now. There's enough criticism out there to go around.
Yes.
The bigger picture right now is that this is a massive firefight. Mm-hmm. And there's also a law enforcement component where they're trying to keep people as safe as they possibly can, to try to get people to safety and also to protect what can be protected. I mean, there's literally looters out there that we're hearing, which is, I don't even know what to say about that. People that are trying to come into burned up properties and take people's stuff. What the hell?
Yeah, as though the devastation isn't enough already.
Yeah. I mean, so, we need to be the best that we can possibly be as human beings.
Yes. Take care of each other
and
look out for each other.
Yeah. Just a couple last thoughts if you had any, Rob. Anything that you wanted to share or Aaron?
Last thought. I mean, I got lots of thoughts.
Yeah.
But questions I have for you as a firefighter that people might not understand.
Yep.
How do you run out of water? Like, honestly, if you're in LA and you have these $1 million homes and they're hooking up to, and I know that the easy answer is our systems are not made to take on this type of fire.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to just, if I could just jump to the, quick a little bit, is I think what you're driving at is that, most of our systems and across America, it's not just out there. Imagine what the systems, the water systems are like, or any other types of engineering or construction around this country. Lots of systems are old. We have bridges that are extremely old. We have buildings that are very old. Now, they're not as old maybe as, say, what you find over in Europe, because there's a difference there, just in how long something has existed. But if you look at, the LA area or California as a whole, I mean, they're going to probably point to several things. They're going to say that the system was old, it's not been updated, or it was in process of being updated. There's going to be people who are going to blame the climate. I'm sorry, that's going to happen. They're going to say, well, we couldn't do anything about this. It's the climate. It's just the way. And it's like, here's the deal. We have brains. We have people in power. We have people who are in charge of the purse strings. They control it, and they're elected to do that. And I would just kind of echo something I heard last night on a particular news channel, which is basically stop voting with people into particular offices just because they have a certain letter behind their name, an R or a D. Get into the particular values and principles of people that you're electing to decide whether or not that they're going to upgrade the water system and actually funnel money to improving the hydrant system in a area that is pretty widely known for having a historical wildland fire season. In fact, I don't even know if we have a wildland fire season any longer. I think it's just kind of a year-round process. Mm-hmm. And nobody does it better than Cal Fire, and nobody does it better than LA County and LA City. No one does it better. They do it the best, the firefighters themselves. It's the infrastructure that should already have been begun the process of replacing it, working on it, making it more robust, engineering the F out of it so that you don't have this massive devastation. And that's the process of learning from these historical, events. And this is one of them.
Yeah.
so were the hurricanes that came in 2024, Helena and Milton, and just all of those things. Katrina, you go back to Hurricane Katrina, go to 9/11, learn from all these things, because this is, for example, I mentioned the Unified Command that was born out of 9/11. And again, go back to the Wildland Fire Service as a whole. They've sort of been leading the charge on incident command for decades. They've been ahead of the curve because they've had to learn how to manage such large masses of resources. Strike teams and task force, and hundreds of engines and hundreds of tankers and tenders. There's a debate about what a water tanker is and what a water tender is, and if you're in the fire service, you know what I'm talking about. But it's managing. Right now, what's happening out there is that they're managing the resources that they have at the moment,
right?
And it's probably at critical mass, if not already.
Oh, I'm sure.
The constructive criticism has got to be something in the vein of learn how to better manage our funding that should be going towards the expectation of how you want things to play out when the worst of the worst happens. Stop undercutting it.
Yeah.
If you keep doing it, you're going to have a miserable response to it.
Every county on the West Coast should be operating as though they're next.
Absolutely.
So how do we plan now?
Absolutely.
How do we learn lessons from what's going on?
And this goes into so many other, areas again that are touched, the first responders and firefighters, police officers, paramedics. They're always on the front line, and they're always the first one.
Right.
That's it's like their heads are pushed underwater, and they're always at the door scratching, going, "We need this." This isn't being selfish. When they continue to be undermined, they're going to be resilient. They're going to turn back to just being good people, skilled and trained people, and they're going to put everything they can on the front line to do the best job that they can. But at the end of the day, the smoke will clear, the fires will go out, and then it's going to be this conversation at the table, and it's going to be a bunch of people, I can probably assume, that are going to be trying to save their asses.
Yeah.
I know I make a lot of war analogies, but it's easy to wrap my head around that. But it's almost as if you see a major war brewing, you're not going to shut down your production of ammunition and
Right.
and jets and all the things we need to fight a war.
Yeah.
You're not going to pull back on that budget. You're going to go, high probability of this happening.
Time to double down.
We're going to need the tools
Yeah.
and the equipment to fight this war.
And especially in the first world, greatest country on planet Earth. And
Right.
And I'm sorry, we say that
proudly,
and we say it proudly, and it's not BS.
Right.
And there's some people out there that they do. I mean, it's proven they hate America. Fine, I don't care. I'm moving on beyond you. I don't have time for that. Greatest country in the world. We should be in every way, shape, or form, in every corner of our United States infrastructure. We should be operating at best top capacity. Now, that is going to cost a lot of money. We know that.
Yeah.
But again, follow the money, and we would probably be dumbfounded by the waste that we would. I mean, we talk about that there's waste at the local, state, and federal. We know that there is in government. There's waste.
So what you're saying is the now $1 trillion that Musk wants to cut from the U.S. budget should maybe just be reallocated to infrastructure.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess I could argue that.
We hear that we need to invest in infrastructure. We hear that as a topic.
Yeah.
In the United States, things are aging. I know for me, you made a good point. This is something that, I'll have a heightened awareness of the issues on the table when I'm voting. You vote for your mayor, you vote for, politicians. And a lot of times the things people who vote, they're voting on one issue
Yeah.
or an issue that really is made to seem important, but isn't that important.
Right.
But I hope this raises awareness of like, who are we voting into office? And I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. What are they going to spend money on? What are they going to focus on? How are they going to make decisions? What's important? What does our community need? And vote for that person that is taking care of the community.
I agreed, and I love that idea of
power is with us.
Yeah,
and you're talking about this is a potential failure of leadership.
Yeah,
we're voting for those leaders. We're putting them into office.
Don't give anybody a rubber stamp. Yeah.
Just because they have this one issue that they're highlighting and saying it's so important. And a lot of times we vote on this tiny little thing over here where there's a big picture and a lot of really important things that we need to take care of in our communities.
Yeah.
And money is, I think, we got Doge coming into place. It'd be interesting to see where the money's going. And that'd be great to see on a local level too. I'm sure that's somewhat public.
Sure.
But who looks at that?
And I think Aaron, you bring up a good point. I mean, if Doge is going to get some traction here, and it shouldn't just be about how does it cut from the federal budget. It should be how can it be efficiency.
Yeah.
And it should be the reallocation. It should be the reallocation of funding and resources back to the local and state communities. That
maybe a little bit of cuts. I could use some cuts.
Yeah. There's probably plenty to do there. But here again, and I try to right now as we're on air talking about this, I want to be very open-minded and respectful of what is currently happening.
Yeah.
And as we came on, we started. I kind of did a quick dive off of the platform where I brought in the hurricanes from the end of last year, and then the way we started New Year's 2025 in New Orleans. Yeah. And now here we are just, 7, 8, 9 days into the new year. And look what has already happened in this short amount of time in 2025.
Yeah. We're a country that is enduring tragedy all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can respond to this we can take care of the situation now, but as we go beyond this, we've got to start getting back to a principled conversation about let's get back to some basics. Stop worrying about certain things that at the end of the day, they just don't rise to the level of urgency and concern that we've been giving the last, probably since 2020. And I know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
But every time that we've cut certain resources, we cut the, law enforcement agencies, and, we think we're doing it. Why? Because of, improprieties and police brutality. Hey, you know what? You can give me all the examples of what you can, but I know that the greater good, the larger numbers have been trying to do the best that they can out there. And most of the time they're doing it in some fashion of being cut.
Right.
It's not working. I mean, stop looking at it in a different way. It's not going to change its color.
Right.
I think it's on us to, we're at a point in our country, we need really rock solid leadership. We do. And we need to take that into our own hands and vote in, understand what good leadership looks like, raise the bar, look at it. Who cares if it's a woman, a man, what ethnic background they are, they just need to be qualified, and they need to understand how to lead. And you need to
understand what accountability looks like.
Understand the issues.
Yeah.
How many people go, we need to invest in infrastructure.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? A lot of people would look at that and go, I drive over this bridge every day. It looks great.
Yeah.
We need new bridges. No, we don't.
It goes beyond your backyard.
Yeah.
It does.
It entails a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, including this.
Yeah.
So I think it is, hopefully it helps with that, raise awareness, understand the issues, and vote in the leadership we need in this country right now.
Yeah. Well, we would love to have, we always take a look at comments that come back to any social media posts, or you want to email us at info@originalfirefighter.com. Give us your thoughts and opinions. We may talk about them, and, at the end of the day, it should be not only a community conversation, it should be a national conversation. I always hope for the best. Aaron, for what it's worth, I know you have family out there in California, and we do wish them the best.
Yeah, California, LA, we love you. We're praying for you. We're thinking about you. Trying to keep up with what's going on. Just know that we're with you.
Yeah. So we appreciate that. This has been the Original Firefighter Podcast, and first responders out there, please stay safe.